Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's session. My name is Irina, and I'm the event planner for the Redmond Reactor Space. Before we get started, I have a few things to go over. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience as well as our presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Useful links will also be shared in the chat. This session is recorded and will be available on demand in 24 to 48 hours on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. Which brings us to today's session. This session will run approximately 1 hour with questions throughout, and I'll now turn it over to our speakers for introductions.
Awesome. Thank you, me hearties. I be bidding ye welcome to another Sea of Nerds show. And once again, I have to stop there because that's going to kill my throat. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to this Sea of Nerds. Today's show is all about games development, being a student in games, how to get ahead in games development, and all cool stuff for folks interested in a career in games development. So thank you all for joining. I've got a fantastic guest with me today. Now, if anyone's watched our previous shows, you'll know how this works. But for those who are new to this, the way this works is I have a cool guest on. I interview this guest. I'm going to be joined by my first mate, Sam, as soon as they fix their computer. I interview a cool guest whilst we play Sea of Thieves, an open world pirate video game that comes from Rare Studios, which is owned by Microsoft. Now, this is very much a conversation, so this is your chance to learn from our guest. So the chat is open for you. Please, please, please ask your questions, and I will do my very best to get through as many of them as I can. If you joined for last week's stream, you'll know that I didn't manage to get anywhere near the end of all the questions coming through. We had some great conversations with some regular attendees. So thank you all for joining. But right now, I want to introduce my guest, who was last seen firing himself out of a cannon. Chris, do you want to say hello and introduce yourself? You're muted. I can't actually hear you.
How's that?
Yay!
That'll do. Oh, never trust technology and all that. So hi, I'm Chris Headland. I'm the head of the Games Development Department at Staffordshire University. We are one of the world's largest games development departments, where I'm there as a professor of video games and kind of VR and metaversey stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, you say Staffordshire is one of the biggest. I mean, how big are we talking?
Oh, absolutely huge. So just in kind of pure games development subjects, so games art, games tech, games programming, games design, gameplay, game production. We've got about 1,500 students, and that's growing. If we include students in kind of complementary disciplines like animation, VFX, esports, we're closer to 2,000 to 2,500 game students. So the games community is absolutely massive.
That is substantial. You get some of the largest universities of the world where they have computer science departments of that kind of size, but you're saying just for games itself.
Yeah, just purely. I mean, and this is quite unique. Like I say, usually games is kind of a partner department attached to something like computer science or media or art. But yeah, to be one of the very few departments where actually you get artists working alongside designers, working alongside programmers. So we can actually build fully fledged video games purely in the department. And we have done, and we are doing.
Nice. Now, I do have to give one big shout out to you, actually, because for anyone who actually enjoys this format, this is all Chris's idea. So Chris was the one who actually came up with this concept many years ago. So, yeah, Chris, do you want to explain why you came up with this idea and how effective it's been for you?
Yeah, so years ago, back at my previous institution, we were about to revalidate our degrees and do various other bits and pieces. And the students had a lot of questions and, an awful lot of questions, actually. And they said, well, how we'll answer them. How do you want to organize this? Do you want a lecture? Do you want to do some sort of workshop or open day and things? And they went, well, no, not really. We don't want to sit down for 3 hours and just look at your face. Is there anything else we can do? And we talked about, well, what about what do you do when you go home? Do you listen to podcasts and things like that? And it was mostly no. And eventually we said, well, what about live streams? What about video games? It said, oh yeah, we'd watch that. So we we tried our first one, and yeah, it was in 2018, I think, 2017, 2018. Just for this one Q&A, we expected it to be about half an hour, and actually at that time we were playing Dead by Daylight, I believe. It was, yeah, it was quite exciting. We were expecting it to be about half an hour, it ended up going on for 3 hours. And yeah, we've just done more and more and more. We ended up settling on Sea of Thieves because it's got a really good gameplay loop. So you can there's plenty of kind of time between missions where you're just sailing along, you can answer questions, you can talk to people, but at the same time you've got enough action to kind of hold people's attention. So yeah, I think I've probably done about 50 of these now with students, and yeah, they've been really well engaged, and it's nice for me as well. It's back in when I was a student, it wasn't uncommon to kind of go to the pub or go out for a meal or whatever with your lecturers, and that kind of thing doesn't really happen anymore. But it kind of created the same sort of informal space where we can sit together and have fun, and there's few things as humanizing as playing video games together.
Yeah, well, we found this so far on the streams we've run here. So we had some senior leadership from Microsoft just not even work out how to get going with the game. And it kind of just shows that, yes, you may be a general manager level at Microsoft with 100 and something people working for you, but that doesn't mean you know how to play video games. We've had people blowing themselves up. Oh, what was that?
I think we need to set off. Oh, there's a cat here. I reckon.
Oh, it's a Picklesworth. Yeah, someone was just shooting me. I'm not sure what that was all about.
Oh, no, so Picklesworth is yours?
So Picklesworth is my cat. Yes, named by my 9-year-old. So.
Oh, nice. I've just fired into a cloud.
Cool. So let's actually set sail. That's what we've been doing with these streams. Because we've got an hour, we find that the forts are kind of a good thing to do. So there's the old Brinestone fort that's south of us. So should we head down there, kind of rob the fort?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Some more. So we need to head south.
I'll lower
Bethany. Is that your parrot?
So what happened was, that's my parrot. So I had a couple of students who used to moderate my streams, and I ended up one of them was called Bethany. I ended up naming my in-game animals after the students who were moderating the streams, which was supposed to be like an endearing kind of like honorific, but in retrospect, it was probably just a little bit offensive.
Thanks for all your help, Bethany. I'm now going to name a parrot after you. Yeah.
We need to go south, yeah?
We need to go south. Which way are we pointing at the moment? We're pointing kind of north. So trying to avoid the storm. We don't want to sink in the storm.
It's a good old storm, actually. One of the things I really love, and again, this is a computer scientist and a games developer, just the quality of the rendering in Sea of Thieves. That water is just absolutely stunning. It's a guy called Mark at Rare who does a lot of the graphics programming and kind of cloud optimization, and it's just glorious.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The water is stunning. It's quite nice. You've got the very cartoony graphics. If I kind of run over so everyone can see what you look like, for example, it's quite cartoony. You're not sort of high def. You're not that AAA game type high resolution character. But then when you look out to the water, and it is just beautiful.
It's still quite stylized. It still quite works, right? It's not. It doesn't look like misplaced assets.
No, that's because there's so much work that goes into these games. You just don't notice until you take time to look. There's all those little details that go into these games that just make them phenomenal. So I guess thinking about games, obviously part of your job is to get students ready to get a job in the game industry. So
we hope.
You hope. So I guess skills is kind of one of the big questions we get from a lot of folks is, what do I need to learn? What do I need to know how to do to get a job in a certain industry? So if I was a student, for example, I was thinking I want to be a games developer. Obviously a games development degree would help, but maybe a career switch or someone else. If I want to be a games developer, what are the kind of skills that will be useful to me? What kind of tools, technologies?
Yeah, so I mean, so the interesting thing about games is it's a mix of disciplines, right? There's very few people who build everything in a game. They do the art, they do the AI, they do the code. There's very few people in that situation. most people have a specialism and go down it. And at the core of it, those there's fundamental core skills of your discipline are really, really important. So things like if you're an artist, how good is your core fundamental art? How good is your life drawing? How that kind of stuff. If you're a programmer, is how good is your low-level code? How well do you know C++? Can you work your way around a games engine? If you're a designer, do you understand what how gameplay works? What mechanics? What gameplay loop is? And actually, one thing that can't really be understated too much is actually playing games, understanding how games work, how good games kind of connect together, is really, really important. But it really depends. Like I say, if you want to know what's going to get you into the industry, it really depends on what discipline you want to go down.
So this is turn hard to. Well, I've forgotten my compass now. Hard east, because we're just sailing past the fort in the distance there. So it's multidisciplinary, isn't it? If you're an artist, then there's a job for you in games. If you're into 3D design, there's a job for you in games. I guess psychology as well in some ways. How do you keep people...
Oh yeah. I mean, psychologists, geographers. I know a geographer who works in video games. I know environmental scientists, oceanographers who work in video games. Again, people are usually surprised to find out how many HR professionals or recruitment advocates work in games. But even stuff like education these days, I mean, the number of big studios who have recruitment outreach. Video games is a really kind of broad level employer now.
Have you found the fort over this way? Cool.
Oh, is it the green thing?
Yeah, the green thing. The green thing. Yeah. So that when we get close, I'll start shooting at us. Then we get to kill lots of ghosts and then steal treasure.
Sounds good.
Because I know you're saying that a lot of games don't have one person doing everything, but what about indie games? See, indie games are very much on the rise now, and you'll sign up for Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation Plus, and there will be the AAA titles like Sea of Thieves, but also their indie games. So
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of small studios who are kind of knocking out games now. I own a small video game studio who's got a couple of titles, one released and one on the way. And yes, there are some kind of unicorns who do the whole thing. That they'll do asset development, they'll do programming, they'll do the whole shebang. And that's often kind of a launch point for people. People often start their careers in indie studios or building games for themselves and for fun. Right? It can't kind of be understated. Building games is really enjoyable. But even in those indie studios, it's rare that everyone does everything. So in my studio, we have some people who are good at certain things and other people who are better at than others. One of the things with games is it really allows you to lean into your skills. So are we mooring on this island, or are we just shooting it?
Yeah, if we pull up next to it. Oh, they haven't shot us, which is kind of worrying.
Ready to drop the anchor then.
Let me just lift up this, raise the sails, so we slow down a bit. Normally they start shooting. They haven't. I hope no one's robbed this already.
Oh.
Are we about to crash? Oh, we're about to crash. Yay. There you go. Here we have a professor of games crashing boats.
It's the quickest way to stop. So yeah, there are certainly some indie studios that there's and there are, like I say, there are a few unicorns out there who do the whole thing, but it's not the most common route into games, I think, is probably fair to say.
I guess
thoughts upon this island.
Right, let's go and kill some ghosts. I guess one good thing for folks who do want to just get started, because obviously not everyone has access to an entire team. So if you're thinking, you know what, I really want to build a game, but I don't have a whole team. But at least there seems to be plenty of good game engines around them, plenty of good resources out there for people.
Yeah, I mean, building games has never been more accessible. I've got no idea what this thing is. Oh, this is cool. There's some barrels. So it's
plenty of treasure in here once we kill everyone.
Building games has never been more accessible. So you can download something like Unity or Unreal these days and really just get started with industry professional tools that just weren't accessible to the individual developer years ago. It really is another world. But even, I would say not everyone does everything. You can build a basic game without knowing any code or having any asset. There's loads of available assets in the world now, which again, go back a few years, just wasn't possible. You can kind of pick up all the parts, almost like building your own car, right? You can build up all the bits, and I've got no idea where you are. Where's the action at?
If you can run up, if you follow the stairs up to the top, usually you'll see lots of skeletons around there.
Oh, good. So for example, if you go into Unity, you can go into the Unity store, find a load of free assets. There'll be some scripts in there that you can make use of. There'll be a load of pretty good assets, and there's quite a lot of stuff out there that's free and available now. So how did you get up there?
So, because I've only had a small player of Unity. I haven't really done much, but I was trying it out and just amazed at how easy it is. Just you literally go into the store and say, I want to grab some, I want some trees, and then you can just find some trees somewhere. And this person will kill me. I want to find some trees. You just download a whole of trees, and then that's it. You just put trees in there, and you're fine. And now I'm dead. There's just so much free stuff out there, as you say. And even, Unity itself, that's quite complicated. But even if you want to go much simpler, my daughter uses Make Code Arcade.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Game Maker as a games, a games development tool. There's been some professional games made in Game Maker, and it's all scripted. It's really easy to use. It's like I say, the options you have now for getting into games development are just so much beyond what I say. Even 4 or 5 years ago.
I remember on the ZX Spectrum, there used to be the graphic adventure creator. Oh, I was trying to.
Oh yeah.
That's going back some, and you just literally script up the kind of games where you type in, walk forward, walk left, pick thing up, and that was kind of just it for what the tools there. The rest you had to get down and dirty with programming. But just say now, and there's so many free tools as well. Yes, if you use like Unreal Engine, there's kind of license fees for them. But Unity, you can get going for free, and then all the smaller ones like BabylonJS, if you want to start building things in JavaScript, or is it Godot or Godot? People keep calling it Godot, but I want to call it Godot.
I think. It's not what I tend to use much. I have used. Some of the JavaScript ones are fantastic though. All right, I'm going to bring it.
I did an open source.
Like more pistol battle.
I did an open source bootcamp a week and a half ago with Sam, my first mate, whose computer is probably still broken by the fact they're not here. To get the students actually contributing to open source project, we built a game in BabylonJS. I say we. Sam built a game in BabylonJS, and it was all it's basically Flappy Bird. And using cube rather than a bird, and it was literally a couple hundred lines of code. Most of that was boilerplate, and you've got a fully featured game. So it's kind of, to get going, there's a lot of great tools out there.
Oh, absolutely. And like I say, it's but Flappy Bird's a great example, right, of that is not a complicated game by any stretch of the imagination, right? And that was an indie title. I can build a Flappy Bird clone. I used to do it as an open day activity with students, just let's build a Flappy Bird clone. And you can certainly build a Flappy Bird clone in about 45 minutes in Unity. But even stuff like, one of the big games a few years ago, Super Hexagon, again, that kind of game is really easy to build as well. But there's just, it's the core thing, I get asked quite a lot what makes a good game, and what should people do to make their game better. It's at the core of it, if it's fun to play, it doesn't matter how complicated it is, it doesn't matter how good your art is. If it's fun to play, people will play it.
And hence come the rise of the indie games, where you look at the quality of the graphics and they're not the AAA rated, motion captured, they're not the kind of graphics you get in a game like this. Instead, they are just pixel art, for example. There's a big rise in pixel art games. And I'm doing a year.
Yeah, I completely overshot it.
There you go. all these top quality smart people who run games departments and do advocacy for Microsoft, and we can't even.
I mean, this is one of the reasons I used to do these streams, right? Because one of the really nice thing about it is I'm actually not very good at playing video games. I mean, I've built a fair few, but I would say that there's nothing more humanizing than watching a person in a position of power do something terribly, right? And like I say, I was in this position of power as a games academic, and for students to say I was actually pretty awful at playing games was quite funny.
I guess that's kind of a good leadership principle, really. If people are thinking about their careers in terms of leadership, you need to be human. You need to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
You need to be honest, as that you are, although you are in a position of authority, you are just as human as everyone else. And having these, I know some people shy away from kind of team building exercises, but having something where you can show that you are terrible at something kind of just brings home the fact that you are a human. You are an individual.
Yeah. I mean, that's at the core of things, right? We've all started somewhere. Yeah. I think sometimes that is a useful thing to remind people.
Are you on the boat? You bring the boat, Ray?
I'm just moving the boat somewhere.
I was going to say, someone's stealing my boat. Because when we think about like at Microsoft here, we have a CEO who is kind of reckoned to be one of the best CEOs in the world. And I'm pretty sure if I could get him on this show, he'll be pretty terrible at this.
That I would actually pay to watch.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I can't imagine that will actually happen. I might have to put in an ask, just see if I can get him to join the show. But I don't think his crew of PAs and executive assistants and
entourage. Yeah.
So we have a question from Cloud Ember, and just for the folks watching, remember this is your chance to ask your questions of experts in the field. And Cloud Ember says, I'm sorry, I'm just being attacked here. As a programmer, what are some skills or qualities that help stand out to game studios? Would it help to be interdisciplinary? And this, I guess, kind of leads back to some of the discussions we've had in previous streams about how do you stand out? How do you rise above your peers? You think about students. If you've got 1,500 students all doing a degree, how does one student stand out above another? So for games studios, how do you stand out?
Probably the same answer I'd give to an artist or a designer as well. Actually, it's in the games industry, portfolio is king, right? So what are you doing on your portfolio? That's in addition to your degree or your job or whatever you're doing with your time, right? What are you doing extra to that to help you stand out? Are you attending things like game jams? Are you building demonstrators? That's the stuff studios want to see, that you have the ability to take a project and see it through. But again, going back to my earlier answer about those fundamental skills, do you understand code? Are you a good C++ developer or a good, depending where you work, C# developer? How are your fundamental skills? But it's also worth looking at where the industry is going. And see if there's any kind of unique flavors there as well. So stuff like cloud. Me and you've talked about cloud in gaming quite a lot, but cloud is becoming such a massive part of the industry now, and certainly something that we've looked at as a department and what we should be doing in the future. It's how are you. A lot of it comes down to what are you doing in addition to what you need to do to make yourself distinctive. But yeah, ultimately, portfolio is king.
Now, one of those questions you mentioned there, probably good to clarify for those viewers who are not experienced in the game world, is a game jam. I mean, I'm imagining it's not like a jar of strawberry jam or anything like that. So,
maybe. I've been to a few raspberry jams.
So yeah, what is a game jam?
So a game jam, the core of it is when a bunch of people interested in games development get together to code games effectively, or build games, or do art for games. It's kind of a group. There's a whole bunch of. Oh no, I don't do what I expected. Oh, there's some chests here. Chests of the Damned.
Yeah, you found the storeroom up top, have you?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yep. So that's but when we kill all the ghosts, we'll get the actual treasure room key will be even more treasure.
Oh right, okay, cool. So yeah, it's game jam is really, it's usually over a set time period, say like 2 days, 2 weeks, where people get together and code effectively, build video games.
So basically a hackathon, a game-focused hackathon.
Yeah. If you know what a hackathon is.
Yeah. So for any students who've done like a Major League Hacks hackathon, it's the same idea. You basically get together and then you hack on something. So you form teams, you hack on something for like a weekend. Usually you have, it goes from 12 o'clock Saturday to 12 o'clock Sunday. You've got 24 hours, form a team, pick an idea, code it up, and then you submit that. And then the best hacks usually win prizes. So do game jams usually have prizes? Do they have, do game studios watch game jams and recruit?
I think, some certainly do. Yeah. I mean, I've been to a fair few game jams that have had prizes or been sponsored by certain companies. I have to say, I don't like these ghosts.
It's all worth it when we kill them all and get all their treasure. So portfolio, we've talked about this in previous streams, that you need to have something to show. And so with games, that portfolio is literally, you want to have games on there. You want to have, if you're more on the art side of things, you want to have examples of your artwork, for example, models that you've built.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, with programmers, it can be a little bit broader than that. I mean, at the very basic, simple question: do you have a GitHub account? Is something useful to? I can take a seat.
Yeah, so GitHub's a fantastic way to have that profile, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, I know a fair few people who've been employed off the back of their GitHub account, for example. It's
it's got yeeted off the fort by the captain.
Oh no! Where's the captain?
I
see him. I see him. Got him.
You got him? I need some food. Yeah, GitHub is a fantastic place to put your profile. It's one of the places where everyone's already there. So obviously, as a Microsoft person, I'm going to be saying,
I killed him.
You killed him. He should release a fortress key that you can then, if you head right downstairs into the bowels
There's also a treasure pouch up here.
Yep, you get lots of these gold pouches. So if you head right down to the bottom, you can then unlock the treasury, and we can steal all their treasure.
Which is nice.
I mentioned GitHub because there's so much stuff. This is great. I mentioned GitHub because obviously I work for Microsoft, and GitHub's one of ours. But really, it is the place people go. It is where all developers and other people put up their content. In you come. There you go. Door's just here.
And it's worth saying, right? Although yes, Microsoft, it's now Microsoft products. It was the place to go before Microsoft got anywhere near it, right? It's that's the reason Microsoft bought it. It's been the place to go for a while. And certainly, I'm pretty sure my brother-in-law was employed off the back of something he did on GitHub. He works in for an open source company. It's GitHub is a really useful place to be. It's certainly, I would be skeptical is probably the best way, but if I was employing for a games programmer and they didn't have a GitHub account, I would have some questions about that.
But it's not just about having the account. It's not just about having
it's having the content on there. Yeah.
Obviously having the account, have the great content, but also GitHub is a community. So how much value would you say game studios put on being part of a community? Be it the contributions you make to other people's code. You're showing that you can work in a team, you can collaborate with other folks. Is that important, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say it's less, it's something that comes up less often than in some of the more computer sciencey roles I've either helped recruit for or I've been involved in the recruitment for. But certainly, yeah, it's certainly a thing. Again, all these places, it doesn't really matter what kind of technical discipline you're working in these days. No one works on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And showing that you have the ability to work as a member of a team is incredibly valuable. Should we go blow up this pirate ship? That looks like a good thing. Yeah.
There's someone attacking us, is there?
No. It's a ghost ship, I think. I'll just fire a couple of pot shots at them.
Where is it? Oh, that one
At
there.
least there was.
Oh, yes, I see it. Okay.
Go
Yeah, we can attack that if you want.
I'm
Shall I
always
raise the anchor and head that way?
Yeah, let's do it.
So just going back to that point, I think one of the things, so the previous streams we've run, we've had sort of senior leaders at Microsoft who are involved in the education space. We have grads, we've had interns. And if I had to pick the one skill that everybody says you need, it is communication.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the biggest thing. If you can't communicate.
No, absolutely. It's like I say, we're in such a multidisciplinary space these days. If you can't work as a member of a team, that's really problematic. I think whether people are contributing to open source projects and stuff. I mean, to go back to your question, is that working on other people's projects, is that important? Absolutely, it is. But again, with a games developer, I would probably be looking more at what have they worked at, like I say, things like game jams and stuff like that.
Because I guess to be successful in a game jam, you have to be able to communicate, don't you? It's part of working.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you talk about I went to this game jam and I did this project by myself, that's probably less useful than I went to this game jam and I worked with this team of 5 people and we built this game.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because as you say, each game development involves studios. Studios have a lot of people. If you can't work with that group of people, then...
But it depends. Again, it kind of depends what you're actually working on, though. Again, if you're going to be a graphics programmer, the fact that you've contributed to OpenGL in some way, that's probably going to hold a lot of weight. If you're... It's actually kind of hard to say because there's just so many roles in the games industry these days.
So I'm just filling up all our holes. They're shooting back. So Cloud Ember kind of follows up to say it sounds like experience and portfolio is kind of greater than skills, which makes sense. Which I guess I wouldn't say it's greater than skills.
I think the way to look at it is the portfolio is really where you showcase your skills. Yeah. It's not that it's more important. It's that it's part of, again, showing what particular flavor you bring to a company.
Yeah, there's no point in having skills if you can't prove that you have those skills.
Yeah. I mean, it's how
come this dude's still going? No. We're about to crash. Here you go. Experienced people crashing boats. Right, we're gonna board it. Are we gonna board?
I'm
gonna board. Come back. I'm not gonna board. Sailed away from me. I failed to board a pirate ship. Here you go. Humanizing. Here is somebody whose job is literally doing this as a day job, and I can't board the ship. I have a question from Rich Princess. Yay, Rich Princess, welcome back. So Rich Princess has joined all of these streams, and I had the pleasure of actually meeting Rich Princess in person at our open source event and another meetup we had at the Microsoft Reactor in Redmond. So Rich Princess is awesome and asked a great question. What level of expertise should I show in my portfolio?
I mean, the level of expertise that you have, I suppose. Again, that probably sounds like quite a blasé answer. It's really important, really, to show where you are as a games developer. And And again, there's lots of roles in the games industry that aren't. I've forgotten how hard it is to play and do this at the same time.
Playing and talking is hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. Oh, I'm being shot under that.
Yep, there's a skeleton there. I just shot him. Oh, there's lots of skeletons there. So I guess when you're applying for a role, you're going to have a certain level that you're going to be applying for. You know, are you applying for an entry-level position? Are you applying for a senior position? And that your portfolio is going to need to actually show that, isn't it? You need to be able to show that I'm applying for a senior position and this is my senior level portfolio, for example.
Yeah. I mean, it's your portfolio should show a few things, right? It should show probably your most current work is really useful as much as humanly possible. Are we sinking? Because this is really sluggish to turn.
Nope. There's no water in the boat, unless they've got the. Which is these boats are a bit slow.
Right. Okay. You ready on the cannon?
I'm just loading them all up. Yeah. Because I guess there's also no harm in showing. Let's harpoon. In showing that. Okay. There's no harm in kind of showing your earlier work as well. There's no harm in showing kind of this is how I've grown over time.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's two things your portfolio wants to show is you want to show your skills, but also your breadth. You know, how good at you are doing. For example, if you're very specifically going to be an AI programmer, then actually you really want to be showing that you can do AI programming, but showing that you're also capable of cloud programming or something that gives you a bit of, we call it depth and breadth. Are you going to be a useful... Oh, we are really sinking. We are sinking a lot.
Oh, yeah, we are sinking a lot. I think we're about to... Oh, look at these holes they've got at the front here. And I have no wood. Where'd my wood go?
I think we're down.
We are sunk. We are sunk. Here you go. Watching two professionals sink their boat.
Losing all their treasure in the process.
All that lovely booty that we got. Oh, good fun. Okay, Amy Bongella has joined in saying, hello, jumping in here. I recently applied for a PM role in the games industry. Didn't hear anything back. Would you look for demonstrable dev experience even for PMs? It's been 10 years since I was a developer. I haven't touched my Git account for quite a while. So yeah, what about the PMs, program management, product management into the games industry?
Yeah, so a product manager, probably less fussed about the code, but again, I would still want to see what projects have you contributed on. I would be interested to know. I would never be, say you didn't hear anything back. I would never be afraid to ask for some feedback. Because sometimes, you can be the... There's an old saying, right? You never really judge just on you. You judge on you and everybody else who applies as well. Which is... Sometimes there might just be somebody who's had that bit more experience in the very specific thing that they're looking for. I wouldn't necessarily look for specific development experience in a product manager, or a kind of more production role, but I would want to see somebody who's led and has a good, strong understanding of the games industry. How you demonstrate that is down to you. I would probably say, I mean, and it's something. I always say, make sure your things like your GitHub or if you're an artist, your ArtStation account is up to date. I don't have a GitHub account anymore, and the reality is that I do have a GitHub account, but it's not a public GitHub account. I use it for my own projects, but I don't necessarily keep it up to date in the way that I used to, because that's just not the kind of role I do anymore. And it can almost look as bad to have a GitHub account out there that hasn't been updated in X number of years and isn't showing what you are doing now. And I certainly know I have been involved in interviews where I said, well, they've got a GitHub account or they got an ArtStation. It's usually more the ArtStation, actually. They've got an ArtStation account that hasn't been updated since, in 6-7 years. What's their portfolio now? What are they doing now? That's a relatively common thing. It's hard to say really, without knowing the feedback from the role, which is why, I've applied for roles and I've not got them in the past. Always ask why. What's always ask for that feedback.
Sometimes it's hard to get. I mean, if you're applying for like a job at Microsoft, for example, I was checking the employee directory the other day. We've got 340,000 people report to Satya. So, it's kind of hard to actually get that level of feedback to every single candidate. But it's never
absolutely.
hurts to, is it?
No. I mean, you can ask, and something else I've done is I've taken my application to somebody else who works in that industry and say, what would your feedback have been? But again, sometimes, as frustrating as it can be, sometimes it is just the luck of the draw.
Yeah, so Amy Bongella follows up with, yes, it was a Microsoft job, but I don't know who the hiring manager was. Yeah, so one thing I will say, Microsoft is terrible at getting back to people when it comes to job applications. I don't know whether you've got any better, but certainly my experience before I got this role is you'd apply for a job and just disappear in a black hole. It's one of the kind of unfortunate things. But when we deal with such a large array of applications. I mentioned this before on one of these streams that one of the job we advertised recently had over 650 people apply. And there's probably other jobs where we have thousands of people apply. And it's just not physically possible for us to employ enough recruiters to give the level of feedback that it would be nice for people to have, because then literally would be a company consisting purely of recruiters just to kind of go through and give that level of feedback.
Yeah. I certainly know one of my friends in the games industry, they had a placement role. And for that one placement role, they had over 1,000 applications. It is, it can be hard, but there's usually somebody out there willing to give you feedback. I've even gone through Twitter and found the somebody at that company directly. It's not always something I'd recommend, but especially if you know somebody in the sector, make sure you are getting feedback from someone. Is probably the best advice I can give.
So leverage your network where you can as well. If there's, if you happen to know somebody via your network that is a hiring manager at the same company for a different role, maybe they can give you some tips or feedback. So Amy Bongella follows up to say, but thank you. I should review my Git footprint. I'll update or remove. Yeah. I think we talked about this a couple of streams ago about your resumes. Don't put anything on there that you don't want to talk about or you can't talk about. So the same with your Git portfolio is anything on there you can get asked about. So you need to make sure that you have, you can talk about it when it's worth talking about. If it's not worth talking about it, take it off. Where are we heading, by the way? Looks like you had a plan.
I was sailing towards that fort to load up.
Cool. Let's do it.
And then I drifted a bit.
So back to the same fort we came from before, yeah?
No, I think it's... Oh, we can go to that fort. Let's go to that fort. Where do we need to go?
Because the Lost Gold Fortress is coming up. I'm not sure that's the... Oh, where are we going? We're going around in circles.
Where do you want us to go?
I mean, we've only got like 15 minutes left, so head to the nearest island. Let's see if we can find some skeletons to defeat. Try and get something back.
Cool.
Sailor's Not a Stronghold is pretty much straight ahead.
Well, let's go for that. That skull thing in the sky.
Okay. So it's not too far away. Let's head that way. See what it is. So Rich Princess has a question. What programming languages are used to make the AAA rated games?
Depends. Usually C++. There's quite a lot of big games built in C#.
Because C# is what Unity uses, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's more AAA games now are going towards kind of the common platform, so going to Unreal, which is mostly C++ and Blueprint. But yeah, C#, Unity, there's quite a lot being built in there. I mean, there was a time when Python was starting to pick up a little bit, but very, very little bit built in that kind these days. And if we're going to mobile, obviously JavaScript and those kind of areas.
So mobile games, they're more JavaScript rather than native iOS, Android.
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends where you go, really, what studios, but yeah, multi-platform seems to be really popular at the moment.
So I guess you can build the game once and then deploy it on both platforms rather than have to write it twice, once on iOS, once on Android.
Exactly. A lot of mobile games are going for a lot of mobile games are lightweight, fast to release, and again, you don't really want to have to be redeveloping those for each platform. So a lot of the kind of native tool, but again, Unity as well. Unity is very, very popular in mobile.
So a question from JustLiving91. Where would it be a good starting point for a new developer looking to get into game development, especially VR game development?
Oh, okay. So if you're going to try get into VR development, the best thing you can do is actually just start trying to throw code onto platforms. So Unity is my kind of VR platform of choice. Unreal is quite good as well, but I find the workflow for Unity really good. So I would be starting just to go through some Unity tutorial, download Unity, free for individual user. I'd be going through some tutorials. I'd be just learning about kind of the basics of kind of gameplay development. And then, assuming you've got a headset, HTC Vives are probably the easiest thing to code onto. I would be starting throwing some of those basic games and see what the different perspective is. So as you go into kind of a VR, one of the things to remember for VR that a lot of people miss is call it perceptual volume. How you see the world is very, very different. And suddenly you notice all things like differences in scale, differences in color. So at the moment, it doesn't feel uncomfortable for me to jump up here and stand right in front of Jim. That doesn't necessarily bother me. It's although those tattoos are a little bit weird. I'm perfectly comfortable in this environment. You do that in VR, and suddenly you're encroaching on somebody's personal space. So the way you have to design games is very, very different. So start by just learning how to throw a game together, and those tutorials are absolutely exceptional for that. And then start putting some of the games that you're developing into VR. And again, the process of throwing games onto VR these days is really straightforward. And just start seeing how it differs in gameplay. And you'll find there's lots of really good VR tutorials as well now.
I've just dropped one in the chat. So we at Microsoft actually released extended reality for beginners. So it's a curricula designed to support learning extended reality. So mixed reality, augmented reality, all that combined. And in there, we kind of cover off, obviously, some of the theories behind it. Like you say, Chris, about having someone right in your face is very off-putting in VR and just being aware of the space around you. But also, it's got a guide in there on how to actually build an augmented reality app using Unity. So it's a basketball game. And so you can build it, you can just deploy it to your phone, for example. Augmented reality is kind of big in this space. You just deploy it to your phone, you get your phone out, you put like a basketball hoop on the floor over there and like throw a ball at it.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's the links there in the chat. Yeah, Microsoft.github.io/xr development for beginners. So that's a good one. Just living. That's a good one to check out if you want to get going with it.
Yeah. I mean, there's really fantastic tutorials out there these days. I really recommend people have a go at them.
I think there's so much content out there at the moment, just how to do things, how to get places, how to learn stuff. We are very lucky that there's a lot of great content, a lot of great free content out there. Because although as fantastic as it would be sometimes to do,
do you know what you talk about experts? I've been wondering why my control has been waving throughout the entire game. I didn't realize I had an Xbox controller plugged in that was on its face and was leaning on one of the buttons. I was like, why am I constantly looking up? And I've been trying to debug that for the last 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh dear me.
But I mean, certainly doing a 4-year games degree is a great way to kind of get these skills. But some of us don't have the privilege of the time to do that. And so we are lucky. There is a lot of great free content out there to kind of get people started. Oh, are you fishing?
No.
It sounded like the harpoon going off.
No, I'm just steering at the front. Where's that
Okay.
big skull thing gone?
It's over there to our right. Getting closer.
Oh, got it.
So you mentioned there's portfolios and how it's a great thing to have. Obviously, you would have seen a lot of portfolios in your time. You've seen a lot of student projects. So what are your favorite student projects?
Ooh. I've seen some fantastic ones over the years. One of my favorites was probably a game where you played as a piece of slime and bounced around. I saw another one by a student where you control gravity in 4 directions. So it was a really, really cool little game. So you could send the gravity to the right or the left, and all the chairs and everything shot over. And it's not a student project, but it's one of my alumni. He's building a game where you play as a caterpillar, and it's all procedural animated. It's that's really cool.
Play as a caterpillar.
Yeah, it's all wiggly and adorable. It's it's an absolutely fantastic project.
I think games, they need to be fun, and sometimes just having a wiggly caterpillar, that's just fun, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Ooh, there's some black smoke around our... Are we on fire? We're on fire.
Are we?
Yes. Oh, yes, we're on fire. Where's the water barrel? Yeah, I don't know how we got on fire. I've been shot. Did you shoot me?
No. Whoa, you're on fire.
I'm dead. Okay.
I'll revive you. There you are. There you are. Back in.
Cool. Let's put this fire out. Not sure what happened there.
Are we all out?
I think we're all out, yeah. I have no idea how we suddenly got set on fire.
Lightning?
Oh, that's because our pear's on fire. Our pear's on fire as well.
Okay.
There you go. It's obviously definitely some kind of parable for games development that it's all literally... Who keeps shooting me? There's literally firefighting.
Oh, wait, what? No. How do I pull that? Oh, there we are. You do that.
Oh, you got it? I can't pull it.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of firefighting going on. Do you know what? How long have we got left?
We've got like 7 minutes left.
You know what? There's a load of ships over there. Should we just drive our flaming ship into them?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, load up all the cannons.
Okay. Let's do this. I mean, yeah, we're on fire, so, you know. We're trying to load the cannons. So of course, that's gonna set me on fire now. There you go. And I'm dead.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. So thinking about fighting fires and being on fire and all that, one question I do need to ask. There's been a lot of things. Oh, Depain MKR calls us trolls. Thanks. There's been a lot of...
We did just sink his boat.
With our flaming boat, we crashed his boat, did we?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's made me so happy.
Oh, I'm going to have to dance now. I'm going to dance. Oh, nice. Great idea. So game studios have had some poor reputations around things like crunch time and lack of work-life balance and things like that. So is it getting better?
Right, keep turning left. Keep going left. Yes, it is. I would say certainly. Certainly, the issue has not gone away. To the right, 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 turn right, turn right, turn right, turn right.
Yeah, there we go. Is it getting? Do you think it's getting better?
I would say so. Certainly in the UK, there's still been a few horror stories.
Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead. I don't think these people like us very much.
No, no. I think that ship has sailed, quite literally.
So we're still hearing horror stories about crunch time. But we've seen like a few games. Like I know like Cyberpunk 2049 said, "Oh, we're actually going to delay our release because we're not ready yet and we don't want people to crunch too much." But should students be aware if they're looking for a job in the games industry that their work-life balance could be heavily impacted, or how can they find good companies to avoid that?
Right. I mean, we're probably a bit better in the UK with the labour laws that, I mean, crunch time, I wouldn't say it's become a thing of the past, but it's certainly a lot better. Without kind of, I'm conscious I'm on a Microsoft stream, so I don't want to sound like I'm bigging up the home team too much, but certainly companies like Rare have some absolutely fantastic policies, really good individual development. And the Rare studio in the UK is absolutely fantastic. They've got walks around them. They're in a forest. They've got a football pitch. They've got good catering. It's really, really nice. There are, I wouldn't name and shame because that sounds like I set myself up for libel, right? But there are some companies who are less good, and I think we're getting to the point where we're starting to know who those companies are as well. I would say before you apply for somewhere, just do a little bit of due diligence. Just kind of do a bit of Googling around them. Maybe see what people are saying about them on Twitter and things like that. What's actually going on with those companies? Have you just boarded their ship and set it on fire?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Nice. Right.
Yes.
That's awesome.
We were crashing stuff into them, so
That's brilliant. I boarded them. And I got killed. But yeah, so do your due diligence, kind of figure out what that company's all about. Most of these companies now have an ethos. That's relatively easy to discover if you kind of look in the right places. Speak to people who work there already. I mean, the games industry has grown so much in recent years that there is actually a shortage of talent, and I think there's a lot more choice than there used to be. Being a games developer, you almost had to take what you were given and just feel lucky about it because there were so few jobs for so many people. Now the situation has changed a little bit. I think people can afford to be a little bit more selective, but certainly we're getting to the stage where I think games companies are starting to get a little bit more socially responsible.
It's bigger than Hollywood, isn't it? The movie industry is nothing compared to the size of the game industry. So
no, it's absolutely massive, and that's only got bigger as well. I mean, we're now using games technologies outside of games, right? So I think it was a reading the other day, the Tesla uses the latest version of Unreal in their displays and things like that. We also have serious games and even so anyone who's seen Mandalorian or any kind of recent sci-fi films, they're using virtual production, which is effectively powered by games engines. You're instead of standing in front of a green screen, you're standing in front of a ginormous computer screen where you're projecting a game world and using that as your movie set.
Okay, a couple of comments from Fuel Snable. Almost at the end of the stream. Fuel Snable, great to have you back. Fuel Snable joins a lot of my streams, so awesome to have you back with us. Fuel Snable says, good day in that. And yeah, games industry more responsible. I thought that before Diablo Immortal. Okay, we're not going to cast any aspersions about any games on here. Not saying.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not saying we're living in the golden age of fantastic employee relations, but we are certainly getting better. I mean, I can remember when I started in the games industry, seeing an advert where a company was actually quite proud of the fact that they had nap rooms and you could bring your own sleeping bag. Right? It was not uncommon for people to be expected to sleep on site during crunch time. Right? That's now becoming slightly, it's becoming rarer. There are still a few, and again, sometimes it depends on the size of the company or who their owners are. So there's been a lot of consolidation in the games industry, and again, without wanting to sound like I'm kissing up to the Microsoft overlords, Microsoft Studios tend to be really, really good. Certainly, I know a lot of people who work at Rare, and they all seem to be really happy. As a company, it seems to be a fantastic place to work, and certainly I've been really, really impressed with their employee practice. I've sent students there, and I've had placement students who worked at Rare, and I've been really, really impressed.
Awesome.
Compare that to going back a few years ago, I would have struggled to tell you a games company that I thought was particularly good with its employee relations, and it's just not the case anymore. It's relatively easy to find a good company, and harder to find a bad one.
Awesome. We have to wrap up there. We are a little smidgen over time. So thank you everyone who joined. This was a bit of fun. We got killed before we managed to rob a fort, and we smashed a ship on fire.
We successfully robbed the port.
Successfully robbed it. And they got killed, and we lost our stuff. And then we managed to, with the ship on fire, we managed to blow up other ships. So we call some piratical fun. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Chris. This was insightful as always. Some really good stuff here.
Always
so I hope
pleasure.
you all enjoyed the stream.
Thank you all, and thank you to our speakers. If you have any feedback, we'd love to hear what you have to say. Please visit the survey for this specific event. It's 16698. And thank you for joining this series. If you did miss any past sessions, I have added our YouTube channel link to the screen as well as in the chat. Sorry. And all sessions can be found there. Thank you. Until next time.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Arrrrrrr.